Oh, right. That little button. Pom-poms are noisy. I don't hear anything.
No,
No, I can tell you hear music.
I hear music.
Did
I'm
you hear
I'm
music?
dancing.
I don't hear music.
You don't hear music?
No.
Well, I'm dancing to our song. I'll stop it then.
How's it
Hello,
sound?
everybody. Welcome to the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. You're not hearing the music. I don't even know if I was playing the music, to be honest with you. It might just be the music inside of my head. There's always a song playing inside of my head, Valerie. Hello, Valerie. Hello, JP Goodwin.
Hey,
What's going on?
Happy New Year, all to everybody, all animal lovers, all animal advocates, all of the rescuers, the trappers, the volunteers, the donators, the people who share lost and found pets. Happy New Year to all of our tribe.
We're back. We are back. We've been on vacation, been on holiday vacation. Yes, Aruba was great. Hawaii, no, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere. I've been on Long Island, chilly Long Island. Although, tell you the truth, it hit 60 degrees here the other day. It was like 12, 14 degrees like a couple days earlier, and then it was like 60 degrees. It's wacky, you know. It's just no, that global warming thing is a sham. Pay no attention to that. That's not real.
It makes it really hard when you have these giant fluctuations to know what clothes you should put away, like, you know, further away, like in the attic, or like, well, not your attic, sorry,
Well,
or in like one of those vacuum seal bags, you know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
do I still need that? Do I need it? My heavy coats? Do I need the bikini? I don't know anymore.
You know, as much as I hate being chilly, I've realized like over the last few years that I get away with a hoodie even on most days, even when it's like super chilly out. You know, if it's not windy, even if it's 25 degrees, I feel like I can pull off a hoodie. Car to house, house to car to store, that kind of thing. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've said my whole life I hate being cold. Anyway, let's get into the show. Let's
Okay.
I feel
What
like
do
we're
we
just
do here?
I feel like we're
What's
just
it all
kicking it. I
about?
feel like we forgot how to do a show, Val, for a
I
second.
know, we're rusty.
So what is this show all about? This show, we do three things on the show. We learn, we educate, and we advocate. And it's been a while since I said that, although I did write it on some copy for a project we're working on. Wink, wink, nod, nod. You'll hear about it soon. Not today, but soon enough. So today we're going to do just that. We're going to learn, we're going to educate. And then really, I mean, JP Goodwin is here from the Humane Society of the United States. Nobody better to be here to talk about advocacy than JP. Look, this is, I wrote on a little Facebook post there. We're going to look at the wins. We're going to look at the big accomplishments for 2022. We're going to look at what's on the agenda for 23 when it comes to advocacy. And that's the show today. We thought it would be good, JP, to have you come on and really set the stage. Tell us where we did the things right last year, where there were some areas of opportunity, areas for improvement, and then certainly what you need us to do. How do we support you as a show, as a program, as a community, and what we're all going to do together in 2023. How's that sound, Val?
Yeah, this is really all about finding ways to support everybody who have an affinity for the animals. And that's whether we're shining a light on, you know, the pizzeria that we always mention because we met him at an anti-puppy mill protest, or whether it's just, you know, supporting a rescue that's doing great work or an advocacy group that's doing great work. You know, we're here to support each other so that everyone wins, especially the animals. I have to say it.
I thought you were setting me up to say it. I realized I didn't say it, so I thought you were going to let me do it.
We are, but that's all right. We're going to get better. So JP, let's start with, we'll do a quick little review. And if you want to highlight, you know, anything in particular, any victories that maybe not everyone knows about, you know?
yeah. Well, I will say this, in 2022 was one of the most remarkable years on the puppy mill issue. Of course, you two are very familiar with the New York bill that the Governor Hochul finally signed into law in December. She made us nervous waiting until December.
No kidding.
But she got there. Now, that affects about 66, maybe 67 puppy selling stores. But if you look at other ordinances, most of what was passed in 2022 were local ordinances. New York would have been the one state bill to prohibit the sale of puppies in pet stores. But 100 stores were affected by ordinances passed in 2022 out of 600 total. So there's 600 puppy selling stores in the United States right now, sell puppy mill puppies. 100 of those 600, 1/6 will have to stop selling puppies at some point. I mean, the different ordinances and state laws have different phase-in periods, but that's 1/6 of the industry. So I think that's a pretty remarkable gain for our movement. And what does it mean for the dogs and puppy mills? Well, I don't want to flood everybody with numbers, but I do want to give one more little set of numbers here.
I love numbers.
Everyone, numbers make people's eyes glass over. I understand that. But 2012, USDA licensed puppy mills had an average of 87 adult breeding dogs per kennel. That was the average. Some of them would have hundreds, some of them would have scores, but the average was 87. And it was around that time period that we started to see a lot of these local ordinances being enacted to stop the sale of puppies in pet stores.
Mhm.
For 2022, we counted out how many dogs were on the average USDA licensed puppy mill. And we know how many dogs they have because they have an inventory count at the bottom of their inspection reports.
Don't you love it when people refer to sentient, beautiful puppies as inventory?
Or even better, livestock. That's they call them livestock. So 2012, 87 dogs. 2022, average USDA licensed puppy mill, 57 dogs.
Okay.
So that's a decline of 1/3 in terms of like the average size of these kennels. Now, we're not counting them by the number of licensed kennels because in 2013, the USDA changed the rules for who had to be licensed and inspected as a commercial dog breeding kennel. They brought in the people who raised dogs to sell over the internet, sight unseen, to be under their regulatory scheme. It's very weak regulations. They don't amount to much, but it's a little itty bitty bit of protection, and it gives us an idea of the size and scope of the industry. So what that means for our count is that while some puppy mills who might sell primarily to pet stores were closing, others who were selling primarily over the internet were just starting to get a license for the first time. So it made it where we couldn't use the license number, the number of licenses that have been issued as a count, because too many of these people were just kind of slowly getting licensed. So we looked at the inventory count and the number of dogs, and that really is what matters the most anyway. It doesn't matter if it's 10 puppy mills or 10,000 puppy mills if the number of dogs in cages is exactly the same. So we were really excited.
So ultimately, JP, what as I understood this law, what we were doing was, if we think in terms of supply and demand, what we were doing was, by limiting the demand, meaning limiting the opportunity to buy these in the store, then there's no need to increase the supply, right? So that's where, when you say you go from 87 of these breeding animals down to 57 in each of these breeders, each of these puppy mills, that's what we're really talking about, right? So if we can cut them off at the point of sale, the end of the puppy mill pipeline, right? Because that's what this really, it wasn't just the anti-puppy mill, it's about the pipeline. That's what we've been speaking about, right?
That's exactly right. Because there are 7 states where about 80% of at least the USDA licensed puppy mills are in. Just 7 states. It's Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, Arkansas, Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas. All right, those are states where big agribusiness is so powerful and so dominant in the state legislature. And so for years, advocates have rammed their heads into the wall trying to get even the most basic reforms through to protect these dogs. And we made a decision, okay, if powerful special interests are going to stop us from getting an extra inch of cage space for the breeding dogs, okay, fine. But they have to sell the puppies somewhere. And so that's why we started hitting it from the pet store side of things. And we were so thrilled when the research team in the HSUS Puppy Mills campaign crunched the numbers. And because I kind of suspected that's what we were going to find, but I wasn't sure. And I was really thrilled. I mean, 87, 57, those are hard numbers to remember. Let's just round them off. 90, 60, 90, that's a 1/3 decline.
So let me ask you a quick question about this, because I think there is a little bit of confusion in terms of like what could go wrong now that this bill is signed into law. Some people have been commenting, of course, that they're thrilled that this law was passed, but now they're saying things like now we have to worry about backyard breeders selling their puppies to pet stores. And I was of the understanding that the pet stores can no longer retail
That's right.
puppies and kittens and rabbits. So
Your
that's
understanding is correct. Your understanding is correct. The pet stores cannot sell puppies in New York State with the law that Governor Hochul signed. I mean, it's going to go into effect later, but when it goes into effect, they won't be able to sell any puppies from anywhere. They can let a rescue or a shelter.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but let me ask you a follow-up question, right? Because this is for me personally one of the biggest challenges and point of frustrations in this world of ours is that what about enforcement?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I can tell you that New York will be the 6th state that has enacted one of these laws statewide. And 2 of those states, Washington and Maine, grandfathered in 3 stores in Maine and 4 stores in Washington. So there's no enforcement to look at there because it's just preventing new ones from coming in. But California, Maryland, and Illinois had no grandfather clause. And whereas at the local level, we've never really had any challenges with enforcement. On the state level, in all 3 of those instances, some scofflaws tried to get around the law. Now, in California, it was dealt with. All the puppy selling stores were finally brought into compliance after a series of lawsuits.
Okay.
Maryland, we're finally there in Maryland as well. But in 2022, the Attorney General made one of the last stores who was refusing to comply pay a $75,000 fine.
Okay.
So that was a huge win, and he got another one in 2021 with a $100,000 fine.
Wow.
So now we're at full compliance in Maryland. In Illinois, we've got about, I've got the full list. I've got the list of every single store. It's less than 10 that are not complying, and there's some issue. They're going before a judge. A few of them now. They've had some notices sent to them from the Illinois Department of Agriculture.
Who is it?
For New York?
Unbelievable. It is almost unbelievable to me how long these battles last. And I kind of figured out in terms of like, okay, well, maybe people just really hate change, or I don't know, but like I've said this before to who did I say this to? Legislators, I think that I called, or maybe I said it on the show, but it's like if I were a business person if I owned a pet store, and obviously the writing is on the wall, we now have a half dozen or 7. New York is the 7th state, 7th?
6. Yeah, we'll get the 7th this year.
Yeah, and over 400 local municipalities. The writing's on the wall. The world is becoming more compassionate. Nobody wants to support animal abuse. Be the first in your area. If I were a New York pet store owner, I would be the first one to embrace this and say, let's do an adoption event. We're going to close out. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to get ahead of this curve. We're not going to wait 2 years to source more puppies from puppy mills and do like a fire sale. We're going to do it now. And I want to reach out to all of the animal advocacy groups and invite them into my store.
So let me ask you that, Val. So let me interrupt here. Here's the deal, Valerie. Let's put it right out on the table, right? So you know who these pet stores are, specifically where I hail from here on Long Island and where you're from, right? Why don't we put a challenge out there to some of these stores? Not going to call you out by name, but maybe you want to be the one on the cutting edge. Maybe you want to be the one that does this. And I've spoken to I don't think it was you, JP, but I think it was another friend of ours, Brian, that we had on the show one time. I think we had you guys on the show together. Yeah. And Brian, I apologize if I'm telling any secrets, but Brian told me if a store, if there's a strip mall that has a pet store that sells puppies, he won't get a bagel in that strip mall. He won't get a cup of coffee, an iced coffee in that strip mall. So what I'm trying to say, folks, is that's how passionate the people in this work are. That's what this is about. So to Valerie's point, why not be the one that steps out and gets this done right away and says, you know what, we're going to comply, and we should comply now, and build those alliances, build those strategic alliances with folks like us. I
have a feeling, I mean, look, we could try, and I'm not trying to sound pessimistic, but this is what my gut says. I have a feeling that would be in the eyes of their other colleagues who, they're all part of this lobby. They lobby and they pay lobbyists to fight, this bill. I have a feeling that would be it's almost like crossing a picket line. It's gonna be.
Well, I hear, listen, I grew up in a union house. I know a lot about scabs and crossing the
Yeah,
picket line.
that's
I'm very
great.
familiar with that, but I don't know if it's the same thing. I think it's, you know, somebody's got to be the one to step out and do the thing. Someone's got to be the change maker. Somebody's got
I
to take the
agree.
chances, you
We
know?
we will try and we will make it public so that people can see if anyone responds. JP, just real quick, back to the enforcement question, and then I want to let you mention other success stories and then tell us about what's on the horizon. But back to the enforcement issue. When you say that you've had a lot of success on the local levels, local municipality levels, who is that in for? Is it the SPCA? Is it the cops? Because I get these questions a lot, and usually with temperature laws, who should we call? And I tell them who to call, and I have to be honest with you, specifically Nassau County, they're not getting a lot of good results.
Okay. Well, it just depends on the locality because it varies from place to place. I mean, usually it's probably going to be the local animal control agency.
Oh,
Yeah. Now, and I'm talking about with the local ordinances that you might see in a lot of other places. I will say that I think this one's an easy one to enforce.
yeah.
Let's take, for example, if you have an ordinance on tethering and you can't have the dog on a chain for more than 4 hours, a little harder to enforce because you don't, unless the animal control officer sits there for 4 hours, the person might say, well, I took him in, you came at 4 and then came back at 8, and I took him in at 6. That might be a total lie, probably is, but
Right.
a little harder to enforce. Here, all they've got to do is walk in and see that there are puppies for sale. So I think this one's easier to enforce, but for some reason at the state level, with the state laws, the industry's pushed it a little bit more as opposed to at the local level. Now, Clark County, Nevada is going to be interesting. Clark County, Nevada had an ordinance that was passed in December, and they had 13 puppy selling stores. Now, to put this into perspective, the state of Maryland had 8 statewide. So you're asking yourself, why does Clark County have so many?
Why?
It's because when the California ban went into effect, a bunch moved to Clark County. They went just jurisdiction shopping.
Sure.
So the Clark County ordinance affects unincorporated Clark County. It doesn't affect Vegas proper. We need to do a different ordinance there. They got 13 stores. Because there's so many, as opposed to just being, like 2 or something like that. When that one goes into effect, that'll be an interesting one.
Interesting to see. We're going to watch that. You're saying, how that's going to, what's going to happen in those locales, in those 13 stores.
This is what I'm talking about. So instead of just reforming the business model,
right,
comply with a humane business model, they would rather uproot, find new space, cross a border, and reestablish their same business practices. It's wild to me. I don't know.
Val, the thing about it too, though, I think, and listen, sometimes it's difficult, I think, for all of us when we're in our own paradigm to understand the other side, and if these people are not compassionate, animal loving people, they don't care about the same thing you're talking about. They're entrepreneurs, they're business people. And if they're, well, listen, she's making the dollar sign, everybody, the international sign of rubbing fingers together. If you're only listening, she's you could probably hear it. It's like a little buzz, it's her fingers rubbing together. But look, you know what I mean? And I always feel like I just want to take the other side. Not that I agree with the other side, but I want to just remind you, they don't care the same way. Some do, but many don't. So they're business people, right? But I mean, look, there's a lot of there's terrible things that go on this planet, and that's why we're here to learn, educate, and then advocate, right? We're changing the world. We have to change the world through education, right? JP, talk to us about that.
That's right. Did you guys watch 60 Minutes last night by chance?
I did not.
Oh my gosh, they had a really well, I would say depressing segment on the state of the global environment and the accelerating rate of species extinction. And it just reminds me that, there are a lot of people out there who just, very selfish and in it for themselves. So you're right, Tommy. We've got to educate, build a critical mass, and then organize that critical mass to change laws. There are some people who are just never going to go along with doing the right thing, no matter what it is. And they just have to be compelled to. I don't see any other way to turn the ship around without educate, organize, legislate.
I love that. Educate, organize, and legislate. All right, so let's move forward to the what's another victory that we'd like to mention? I like victories.
Well, since there's such a New York connection here, New York became the 10th state to prohibit the cosmetic testing on animals. That was a nice one. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Hallelujah. Would you like
Yeah.
to rattle off the other 9, or I don't know if you know them off the top of your head, you probably do.
Oh gosh, let's see. California, Louisiana, Virginia. I can't remember them all because I didn't work on any of those. So I didn't pass those laws. But kudos to the team. What's that?
California usually first, like they seem to be the pioneer statewide of compassionate, humane legislation.
Yeah, California is often first, and then Oregon also. That we've got some really good advocates out in Oregon. Somehow Louisiana got one through. You wouldn't think that Louisiana is having passed a law like that, but they've got some pretty good people in the state legislature there. Virginia has really been emerging as a state where the advocates are really well organized and getting some great things done. So yeah, we've got about 10 states with cosmetics testing, and that's pretty cool because I love seeing these issues that, when I was a kid, I was concerned about starting to really finish.
Yeah.
Get some
I
off the
remember
list.
the movie, what was that movie? Oh my God. Legally Blonde 2.
Yeah. Reese Witherspoon.
I remember watching that. Yeah, and I remember watching that movie, and I thought of that like a few months ago, and I was like, that movie is it's already at least what, 10 years old?
20. It's got to be 20.
The second one. Oh my
yeah.
God.
I'll find it for you.
Because that's one of the things, that's one of the harder lessons to learn, I think. But this advocacy stuff, I mean, when Governor Hochul signed the puppy mill bill, the anti-puppy mill bill, whatever, that was like giving birth. Because I was celebrating back in May, right? Or early June when they passed the assembly, and we were like, yeah. And then all of a sudden it hits you, you're like, wait, don't do the end zone dance yet. It's not done.
Yeah, and for New Yorkers, I'll say Assembly Member Linda B. Rosenthal and Senator Mike Gianaris, they were instrumental because when it came to discussing the issue with the governor's office, they kept the foot on the gas all the way. Yeah. So Assembly Member Linda B. Rosenthal, Senator Mike Gianaris, I just want to give hats off to them.
Yes.
I mean, my gosh, they work so hard.
Right on. Legally Blonde 2 came out July 2nd, 2003. For those of you and it was called Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. Got to tell you, I was telling Valerie before we got started here, JP, I said, The Usual Suspects. You've seen the movie The Usual Suspects, and she said, I haven't. So Val, you've seen Legally Blonde 2, but you haven't seen The Usual Suspects. Nothing.
More of the PG kind of.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, folks.
Kaiser Sose. You want to know Kaiser Sose?
Kaiser Sose. That's exactly what we were talking about. In fact,
my first dog was named Kaiser. This is how it came up in conversation. And the next thing you know, he's like yelling this name at me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny. I wasn't yelling it, but if you knew the movie, it's even fun. No, but it's even funnier that you would think I was yelling it, because that's funny. Just Val, please go home and watch, or stay home and watch the movie tonight.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll call half. I'll get it sorted out.
Early days Kevin Spacey, right after 7, when I became a big fan of his. I loved the movie.
Yeah, before he became.
Now
he had some issues, didn't he?
Yeah.
I liked him as Bobby Darin.
I didn't see that.
I'm more of a PG person. All right, so moving.
All right.
What?
No endorsement of anything Kevin Spacey did in his personal life, by the way. So.
Agreed.
No. We are not endorsing that. No. But
what's on the horizon for this year? Or wait, were you done with the recap? Because if there's something else you want to mention.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about next year. Well, there's one thing, and I had nothing to do with this, but I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and right across the river was a greyhound track. And the greyhound track stopped racing dogs as of New Year's Day. So that leaves just 2 tracks doing that, both in West Virginia. So if you live in West Virginia, please ask your state legislature to stop allowing this stuff.
Did you say yesterday, New Year's Day, was the last day they ran, or did they run prior to that? And they did not run yesterday. That's it.
Yeah, at the second. So December 31st would have been their last day.
So we had on a gentleman from Val, help me out. Oh, terrible.
Gray 2K?
No, it was a around horse racing. Val.
Patrick Battuello.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Horse racing wrongs.
Wrongs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And what a conversation that was. I mean, I tell you the truth, man. I mean, I'm a guy who grew up going to the track here on Long Island, and I don't know if I can go back to the track after that. To be honest with you, I'm going to say it right here on the show.
And that's what I mean. This is where the hope comes in, right? Because it's like, if you look at the big picture, I remember saying this at a Town of Hempstead board meeting, the world is becoming more compassionate. You have vegetarianism and veganism on the rise. You have major designers that have eliminated fur and are going more into, there's a vegan store in the Walt Whitman Mall now. Everything they sell, clothing, makeup, whatever.
Yeah.
It's all cruelty free. You know, now we have animal testing, the puppy mill pipeline. I mean, it is a fact. This is not something that, you know, it's not like we're trying to start from ground zero. There's a lot of great momentum.
No,
So I'm just speaking to anyone out there who loves animals and wants to make a difference. What JP just said, it's a phone call.
Yeah.
You know, call your legislators and tell them this is important to you and what you want to see happen.
And I like the phone calls because nobody else is making the phone calls. Everybody else is sending an email. So when you do the phone call, or better yet, you get them in person, that stands out.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's 2 tracks. This is actually something we got to bring somebody on from West Virginia who's fighting this good fight down there, and we'll see if we can find them. But if there's 2 tracks remaining, JP, maybe you can help us out if you know who those constituents are that are on the right side of that argument. Because let's be honest, let's talk about business again, Val. If there's only 2 tracks out there, look, it's not popular because it ain't popular. I don't know how you know. All love and respect to West Virginia. I don't know if that's a travel destination because people want to go see greyhounds running. You know, it might be a travel destination for other reasons, but I don't think people going there for that. So
they could end greyhound racing in Florida. They can do it anywhere.
Yeah,
right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, the guy you want to talk to is Kerry Teal with Gray 2K. So he's the guy. He knows greyhound, or maybe Christine Dorchak from Gray 2K. But
I will look them up.
I got him already. I found the website.
Patrick also mentioned them, but so that's it's a strong victory. I'm glad that went through as well. And I will reach out to them. We'll bring them on the show if they'd like.
That's what I mean. That's what Val, that's the thing. We got the platform. Let's bring them on. It's that easy. So if you all who are listening find this later on and you're connected to, you said not Patrick. Patrick's our friend from Horse Racing Wrongs. Shout out the name again, Kerry or Terry?
Kerry Teal, C-A-R-E-Y. Kerry's a guy. Christine Dorchak. They run the organization. They started in the late 90s, hence the name Gray 2K, because they were working to stop in Massachusetts. And there were about 50 tracks then. Now we're down to 2. So Kerry and Christine can talk about the subsidies in West Virginia to keep this going. But without those subsidies, it goes away. And I've, that one in Arkansas, a few years ago, I wanted to go check it out, see it with my own eyes. I'd never been. I was against greyhound racing many years, and I wanted to see what was going on. So my brother and I went and checked it out, this track. And what stood out to me is the casino downstairs was jam packed, and the dog track really didn't have that many people. And the people who were there, it wasn't like a super wealthy clientele, so I doubt that they were betting very much. And so I kind of thought that this was going to be on its last legs. And then we took a walk around the perimeter of the track, and we ended up kind of walking into the area where the dogs are confined. And it was kind of like a puppy mill. They're out every day for a couple of hours to do their running and their training regiment, but they were living in these little bitty cages that were stacked up on top of each other. And then we got caught and pretended that we thought that this was the area you go to adopt a dog, and they thought we were stop. But anyway, really glad to see that place.
Well, I'll tell you, and that's something we learned when Patrick Battuello was on the show. I guess it was last month. I mean, can't believe we took a couple weeks off. But when he was on the show, a couple of things was that the state is actually supporting, as you said, the efforts of these tracks, and they wouldn't be around without that support. And there was also something you just said about it just skipped my mind for a second. But I think it continues to be, Val, I use this word all the time, JP. I always say evolution. We're evolving, we're evolving, we're evolving. And that's what it is. We're evolving as individuals. I believe in a universal consciousness. We're evolving as a society or species, but also to protect these other species. Oh, I know what it was. It was the see, I say a bunch of words and it reminds me of what I wanted to say. So you just mentioned them being in the casino, and that was what Patrick had mentioned when he was on the show with us that day too, that in essence, when these folks are in the casino gambling, the racino, where
Right.
you got the track, and they end up inadvertently supporting their dollars, end up supporting some of the track and supplementing the track dollars. So, Patrick had said, we talked maybe changing habits, but he said, look more to if you're going to go to a casino, look more towards the casinos that are owned and operated by the Native Americans, indigenous people of this country, because there's no horses racing or dogs racing at those. So look, again, none of this is easy. There's a lot of parties interested in all these conversations, and there are a lot of, you have to start peeling. You got to peel the onion back. That's just what this is, right?
Yeah.
What did you say, Val?
Big business.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, we didn't buy a beer at the Southland track. I mean, I wanted one, but
he was so thirsty, this guy.
Yeah, getting water out of the sink in the bathroom. I'm kidding about it. If it come to it, that's what we would have done.
I love it. That's a
but
beautiful
that's
thing.
not right, because you don't want to support. It's the same reason why what I was saying with Brian Hackett was that I wouldn't even go into a pet store that sells puppies, kittens, and or rabbits for something that I would need, such as kitty litter or dog food or a leash or a collar, whatever. I'm not walking into those stores. And so he took it one step further, said, I won't even go into the parking lot.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's the way. So, let's talk for a second. Now, let's be real. You want to really make change. You want to hit them where it hurts. Where's that going to be? That's going to be in the wallet. It's going to be in the till, in the register. So if it was a coalition of people who refuse to go even into these stores, to your point, you're not going to step foot in a store who does this, right? So now when the law goes into effect here in New York, the expectation, as we just talked about, the precedent in other places is they continue to do this anyway, right? They break the law until somebody comes in and shuts them down, or whatever the case is. But what if there's a coalition of animal advocates that go, screw it, I'm not coming in there to buy a leash, I'm not coming in to buy kitty litter, I'm not coming in to buy anything.
Don't. Anyone?
No, but I'm saying that if you get enough people who, so here's the thing, you have those who are gonna, the ones will never go in there, right? But then you have to take the others, and say you have three groups. You have the group who is in the know and will never go in there. You have the group who's on the fringe, who's just, their eyes are opening, the veil is coming off, they're learning, the me's of the world, right? And then you have these other folks who just have no idea it's even a thing. Like it is even an issue, and you have to, but that's what this kind of this movement has to be. It's educating.
Sounds
these
like
people.
a protest.
But and I think it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I think it has to be just getting out to educate people. Maybe there's another way. Yeah, standing out in front of the place with the signs, of course. But I think
a walk, or like a
no, maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a walk. So people go, what is this? What is this thing? Of course I'm for what they're doing, because I'm not for what this other thing is. And that's how you start to get, a group. I just think it's not cold enough right now for snow, but when a snowball rolls down the hill, it gets larger, it gets larger, it gets larger, right? And that's the idea.
Well, it does. I mean, I certainly can't, I have no idea how many conversations I've had with people. I have thankfully successfully deterred a couple of people in my network from purchasing a puppy from a pet store. And that to me was like a huge victory. I'll tell you what, I also failed once. I take it very personally. But that is excruciating for me. Just don't tell me.
Even Tom Brady's lost a Super Bowl though.
That should, well, but it is, you're going up against very polished, well-trained people who they know how to deliver what we call the pet store lies.
Right. Yeah.
And most people are, I believe most people are inherently good and good-natured, and they don't want to stand there and have someone look them in the eye and basically wonder if they're lying to them. You know what I mean? So it's you're going up against some good, they're skilled. I will give credit where it's due. That said, I do want to, Tommy, we'll entertain this, but I do want to get to, basically at the halfway point. I want to get to what's on the horizon so that we can also do some calls to action and support additional legislation so we can have another really good year.
Well, so from my position running the puppy mills campaign at HSUS, of course, when I forecast 2023, it's going to be very puppy mill centric. Now, don't take that to mean that there aren't dynamic people doing some great work on factory farming, the fur industry, the animal research issue, et cetera. You can visit humanesociety.org to find out what we're doing on more of that. And there are all these other awesome animal groups too. But for 2023, we want to build on the momentum from the New York bill being signed into law, because this is really, if you think about it, I think it might be a tipping point on the pet store side of the puppy mill issue, because you've got California, Illinois, New York now.
Big states.
Huge states, huge states. Listen, I love Delaware and Rhode Island, but it doesn't have as much oomph when you get the small states, even though Delaware is my favorite place to go to the beach, because I love Bethany Beach and Rehoboth.
Bethany, yeah, Rehoboth, Dewey, right? That whole area.
Yeah, and I love seeing the horseshoe crabs, which we'll talk about that someday. Very cool animal, but you only come out of the water at a certain point of the year to lay eggs. But that doesn't have the same oomph as these huge states with these huge markets. LA, Chicago, New York City. So I think this is a huge signal to the larger commercial pet breeding industry. So we'll be active in a whole bunch of states. We're going to be looking at legislation in all the states that border New York. Remember what I said about Clark County?
I do. Yeah.
So we got to look at states that border New York. The only West Coast state without one of these laws right now is Oregon. So we want to look there.
What is Jersey? Where is New Jersey and Pennsylvania? Where are they at, since that's what you're talking about?
So New Jersey's a really interesting case. And you mentioned Brian Hackett earlier. He's been a big guy. I mean, he has gotten a lot of local ordinances done along with some of the local advocates, some really great local advocates he's worked with. They've passed about 130 local ordinances in New Jersey, but there's about 550, I can't remember how many, about localities. I Googled it once. It's about 500-ish localities there. They can't pass 500 local ordinances. That's absurd. But it's a bigger lift in the state legislature there. But hopefully with concerns about stores coming over from New York, jurisdiction shopping, that might prompt something. In Pennsylvania, there's been a big push for something called Victoria's Law. It's just like the New York bill, but it's named after a German Shepherd named Victoria.
I know this story. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, she had a genetic ailment that she passed on to hundreds of puppies. Finding shelter rescue adopted her, gave her a good last few years of her life. And
paralyzed also.
It's one of those genetic ailments with a long word starts with M. I can't remember, but yes, I met Victoria near the end of her life, and she was wheeled in on a really comfortable setup that they had for her, but her mobility was nil.
But the reason I say that is because of the fact that, if memory serves, I saw her owner rescued her. Yes, and she was on TV or something, and she was speaking with a legislator, and she was saying that in spite of the fact that this dog couldn't really walk, they still kept impregnating her because she was famous for having large litters. So she was a very lucrative piece of inventory. I can't even say it without getting.
Yeah. Well, there she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet girl. Took a selfie with her.
Did you?
Yeah. But that bill has had a lot of support in terms of co-sponsors, but the Senate, I testified at a hearing about it actually in late 2020, but they just haven't moved the bill. Now, the State House of Representatives is probably switching control. Democrats won 102 seats to the 101 the Republicans had. But then a couple of the 102 Democrats were actually elected to Congress, so they've got to have a special election to fill those seats. the Republican leadership didn't give us a vote. I'm hoping that the Democratic leadership will on the House side. On the Senate side, same leadership. We'll see what happens.
And
But
this is Pennsylvania, just to be clear.
Right now we're talking about Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah, all right.
Talking about Pennsylvania.
And again, a result of what we're concerned with what went down in Clark County, Val. It's like, what's going to happen? They're going to move. The store's like, oh, this is good news, right? This is good news. Now you're going to come over here and buy your dogs, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's one thing for us to, as I said earlier in the show, to eliminate the demand at the end of the pipeline. But then the demand is being eliminated because we're saying the stores can't sell them. What if the demand is eliminated because the people go, oh no, that's a terrible situation.
Right.
I'll never get a dog that way. I'm going to go across the street to the rescue. That's what I think so when we talk about education, that's the thing. How do you, continue to do shows like this, continue to have a community of people that want to go out and preach this word about what this is all about.
Cutting off the supply, it's actually educating the public so that they won't have the demand.
That's
right,
right.
Because if you don't know any better, and you just know these anti-capitalist people didn't want these puppy stores to I'm being funny, right? But they didn't want this. They didn't want us to be able to sell dogs. So well, screw it. I'll get on the Jersey Turnpike. I'll go over I'll go through Staten Island, or I'll go through the Bronx, and I'll take the George Washington Bridge, and I'll go buy a dog over there. But like, that's the thing. Without education, if you don't know any better, somebody would go do that. So I almost see this as like a stay of execution. Like we have this window where you have this opportunity to educate these people and go, no, don't go there. Go talk to Regina at Camp Happy Tails NYC and the beautiful dogs that she puts up on Facebook all the time. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I look at the dog and I go, that might be the one. That might be the dog.
Or also, and I think the Humane Society does a great job with this, but we do also say, look, because one of the assembly people, I believe it was Lamonda's, he went off on this whole tangent about how now nobody's going to be able to get a puppy or a purebred puppy. And that is not true. There are reputable breeders. The difference is that, they have standards with where their animals are sent to. And there is,
but that's the resource. That's what you need to provide. That's the answer.
Process. Yeah. Right. So, JP, I wanted to ask you a question. Are you familiar with Bella's bill?
Bella's bill, let's see, Bella was in California, right? I think there was a dog named Bella. So there was a second bill in California to tighten up the first one that was named after a dog named Bella. Is that the Bella, or is this a different Bella?
I saw this bill, actually our friend, and you know her well, she's a volunteer with HSUS, Joanne Wincart.
Yeah.
Proposed. It's about increasing the ramifications, jail time and all of that for convicted animal abusers.
Okay. Different bill then.
Okay, it is different.
Yeah.
Bella's bill is something I have my eyes on. So here's a question I guess I want to tie in. How do you, meaning anyone who's interested in this stuff, really kind of stay apprised of all of the proposed bills and all of the, I mean, it is, I have several newsletters coming to me, but it gets overwhelming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it is, there is so much activity and so many great advocates around the country who are trying to help these animals. You're not going to be able to keep up with all of it. My suggestion is to pick an area. Maybe you pick by an issue because you're particularly passionate about puppy mills or the fur industry or something. Or maybe you care about all the issues, but you want to see a lot of progress in your home state. So you can't keep up to speed on everything. I can't keep up to speed, and I work in this full time.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on. So pick an area, whether it's geographical or a particular species or a type of abuse and exploitation, like some industry or something. And from there, you can really develop expertise in a particular area. But it's just impossible to keep up with everything's going on.
I get that. Yeah. I mean, there's that old adage. I think it really rings true. It says, if you can't go wide, go deep.
Yeah.
And I think also, to your point, that's also the most effective way. Like when we see Patrick from Horse Racing Wrong, so he's very specific.
Yeah.
And then Adita is very specific with the horse-drawn carriages.
Mhm.
And you're in charge literally of ending puppy mills, which what a great life work that is. That is fantastic. And so
And then big cats. That's another victory in 2022, the big cat bill that prohibit the breeding of tigers and lions and the various big cat species for these cub petting things that stem from the tiger. So that got passed by the Congress. That takes out a whole area of exploitation. For the viewers who don't understand, these tigers, they're bred for these cub petting selfies, but they can only take a picture with the tiger between the 12 weeks and 16 weeks of age. Then the tiger is going to live 20 more years, and some sanctuary has to take care of the tiger at enormous expense, because guess what? They don't eat broccoli. They eat expensive food, very expensive food. So that was a big win. And there was a group in Florida, Big Cat Rescue, which everyone's familiar with them.
Oh, is that from that show?
Yeah, but it's a testament to focus, the results you get from focus.
I love that, JP. That's really, really
That's
good.
a big point. Focus.
Yeah.
So Val, we can be at times on this show the generalists, really bringing the light to these things, but then it's the people on the ground that often are going to take it. And I say that out of love for you, because I know how passionate you are about this work. But sorry to tell you, you can't do the whole thing, Val.
No,
you know,
can't. Impossible.
right?
Too much.
I look at that one that this year there was a huge focus on the puppy mill bill, and although I had my eyes still on some town of Hempstead matters, thankfully I can report we're seeing some progress there. But that said, I mean, Tommy, like I just want to mention this. I am so proud of Tommy DeMisa, because when we started this, he was like, "All right, I like this topic. Let's do it. I'm here to learn." And fast forward like roughly a year and a quarter or something like that. Tommy, who is your assemblyman?
Oh God, now you put me on the spot. It was Ed Robb, but it's not
Is
anymore.
that into the tip of his tongue?
Well,
Yeah.
Right, well, all right.
No, but it was Ed Robb, but it's not
all
anymore.
right, so I'll give you a pass because that's the redistricting thing. I forgot. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a tricky one. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. That's all right. Again, I'm learning, gang. What?
You've met legislators, whether it was intentional or not. You were at an event or whatever.
No, you know what's funny? You know,
I'm talking about the puppy mill bill.
well, that's what's funny. That's kind of that's kind of funny. I was at Danny Taylor's event a few months ago, and I'm like meeting somebody who I don't remember his name, and I believe he's not on our side, but I didn't know that. So I'm just like, where do you fall in this whole animal stuff? The animals, like the puppy mill bill. I even said to a guy who we do know together, who I will not call out by name unless you tell me I should. But I ran into him at an event for our family foundation, Lindy Lou Foundation, which is being honored by Camp Anchor down the South Shore of Long Island.
Right.
You remember who I ran into?
Yeah. Well, now he's a congressman.
Right. So I ran into Anthony D'Esposito, and I was like, "How you doing, pal?" And we both shouted out guys, Crimson and the Gold, class of 96. Just said, I got to shout out Chaminade, class of 96. That's me. But I said to him again, and he knew of us. You told me he knows who you are, Tommy D. And but the idea was, I'm aware of things and I'm willing to bring it up. Even, when I was at the, I don't know if we talked about it today on the show yet or not, but my friend Linda Beagle Schulman, no, it was in a meeting I was in earlier. I was talking about, I was at her event for the Scott J. Beagle Memorial Fund, and I was talking, and I started just chatting up the politicians about this stuff, things that I got to be honest, I didn't really know about yet. It's very easy for me to ask somebody a question and just let them talk. So you can find out where they are on these things. So yeah, but that goes to what I've said several times on this episode today, is it's about educating, it's about exposing people, it's about evolving as a group, as a society.
So and look, 6 years ago, I had never even given people a chance to talk to me about anything political, because my famous line was, "Don't waste your time on me. I don't believe in anybody."
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
that was my take. I was like, don't even ask me. whatever. But then something, as my mother once said, something is going to punch you in the face, and you're going to realize it's politically connected, and those are the only people who can change it. And
Yeah.
that's when you're going to get involved.
And we need friends on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing. We had Ed Raw. You guys had Ed Raw on. I was a guest. We had a really good show when we were on the tail end of the legislative session.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Got to have friends on both sides of the aisle.
100%.
I want everybody supporting this issue. Now I get, and I have opinions, and I get how divided American society is, but I'm willing to set some things aside to do something to help animals. I'm willing to, all right, we'll agree to disagree on whatever,
Sir, that sounds very mature. I don't know what you're doing by saying
Yeah, I don't
that.
fit in anymore.
That sounded so mature. What was that about? I'm willing to collaborate.
What a loser.
How dare you, sir?
Speaking of actually educating, I want to mention we have put together another lunch. It's our second lunch as this organization that Tommy and I have founded. And we have Brian Hackett, who's going to be our speaker of the Animal League Defense Fund. Before I mention the details on that, JP, and I guess I'm putting you on the spot too, but is there in some world, I know you're not that far, you're not that close to Long Island, New York, but is there a way that we could maybe have you come as a speaker one time?
Oh yeah. No, I definitely would. But soon, unfortunately soon, I will be able to travel. I have an 18-year-old dog named Odie, and she spent 2 days in the hospital just the other day. Unfortunately, she had pancreatitis and a pretty severe UTI.
Wow.
So I'm not traveling while she's still with me, because she's been my favorite dog of all time. But she's not bionic, unfortunately. And I can't figure out what sort of supplement to give her to get her to 30. So I'm staying at home with Odie because it's the last, I don't know, weeks, months, whatever.
Wow.
But after that, happy to come up. Love to.
I remember you told me this back in like August or something when we were talking about the Compassion Awards, and you said the same thing. I don't know if I can make it because of. Also, I should mention really quickly that I have a friend. We have a friend, a couple that have a dog with pancreatitis, and they actually have seen really good results by using a raw diet. Is very, very low. I think he could only have up to 4% of, what is it, fat in his diet?
Yeah, you want to get the fat low. Absolutely. We just got her back from the vet yesterday. She spent 2 nights, and we've been kind of just trying to get her to eat anything, and she's starting to. But boy, it was a rough couple of days. I thought we were at the end on let's see here, the day before New Year's Eve, the 30th. What day was that? Was that Friday? Yeah. But the vet gave us a little bit more time.
That's great. I can't even talk about it.
Is it Odie after like Garfield's friend?
Close. No, it's spelled the same way. So my partner, before I met her, she adopted Odie from a shelter. Odie was about 1 year old at the time, and the people who had her before named her Peyote. She didn't want to name the dog Peyote, so she wanted something that Odie would recognize, so she went with Odie instead of.
I mean, I could argue this. I'm convinced, this is just my personal opinion, because everyone who I know, and certainly including us, like, you have your dog's name, and then there's like 20 other nicknames, roughly.
Right. Oh yeah.
I feel like he knows them all. You know what I mean? Like, if I call out, I'm like, Pumpkinhead, and he's like, bing, that's me, or whatever. Snugglepuss, Cuddle Monster, Meathead, Meatball, Turkey Meatball, Little Bunny Rabbit, whatever. Like, everything, like, these are things that he'll just, well, Barry, I'll tell you this, Barry will yell out when he's going to take him for a walk. He's like, let's go, shit stain.
And he comes then too? He runs then? Oh. So I think it's just, I don't know. Listen, we should talk to somebody who knows. I think it might just be tone of voice. I don't know that you're telling me he's, like, if you called him Billy Bob in the same tone of voice, he's not going to come running, but you know, I don't know.
It's a little bit of truth on both sides of that. I think they do know words. I mean, a certain number of words, not as many as we do, but the tone of voice, you know, you could say, you know, something awful, but with a sweet tone of voice, and they would respond. But I have a dog named Ziggy. I have 3 dogs. So Ziggy is my young pit bull, and we have had a mouse in the house, and I trapped one in this little green tube thing and released him like 2 miles away. But one night I heard there, because where there's one, there's 2 at least. I heard one and came into the caught him in the pantry. He got away, you know, he skipped my little trap, but the Ziggy came out and I was like, oh gosh, there's a mouse. So now anytime I say the word, he knows, he remembers that. And he goes and looks in the places where the mouse had been. And so he learned that one.
I got to teach you a little bit, folks. Like, you know, we learn, we educate, we advocate, and I would encourage everybody, use your words wisely when speaking to human beings. Tone of voice doesn't matter. Like, if you're saying something nasty, even if you're smiling when you're doing it, it's still bad words. Your dog might not realize, but your spouse or friend might realize. So just a little, we like to bring you public service announcements here on the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show, and that's what I felt is necessary to do. What do you think about that one, JP?
Oh yeah, that's 100% true. Absolutely. I probably got myself in trouble not following that rule a time or two, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, JP, and I'm sure you'll understand what I'm saying here, but like in this case, as it pertains to Odie, I hope actually that you can never be our featured speaker at lunch.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'll probably be able to. But hey, you know, we'll see.
Well, I want to, so the lunch that we do have coming up, I just want to mention the details really quickly, because we are selling tickets, and I strongly urge you to lock yours in. There's only a total of 32 tickets or something, and I think the first 5 are gone or something like that. We have February 1st at noon at Maggiano's in Garden City. It's a 2-hour meeting. Again, Brian Hackett from the Animal League Defense Fund will be our featured speaker. He's going to educate us on some upcoming legislation that he would like our support with as well. And we have really great sponsors. So returning sponsor, they sponsor the Compassion Awards, is Contour Mortgage. JP, you would love these people. You ready for this?
Yeah.
When someone does a loan with them, whether it's a mortgage or they do commercial too, they offer to pay for an adoption fee at rescues for dogs or cats or rabbits. And in addition to that, they are training a dog. They have a dog in training that once he's graduated in like a year or something, they're giving him to a veteran.
Nice.
So,
His name's Champ.
Yeah. Oh, so cute too. He's grown really fast. But he's a black lab, and he is just stealing the show. Like, I don't know how anyone gets any work done over there, but they do. I don't want to say it the wrong way.
I ran into him in my neighborhood like a couple days after he came on our show, and I got some pictures. And I have to look up. Valley, are you seeing my page change when I'm sharing? Right, so I'm sharing Contour. I'll put that on Facebook for everybody.
Right.
And then, but I ran into him. If you go to my Instagram, everybody, TommyD.NYC, you'll see Champ and I at the.
And actually, Champ has his own. They have.
I can't remember what it is. You can.
Contour Pup on Instagram.
Contour Pup on Instagram. Very good. All right.
And they're also, by the way, they're very knowledgeable professionals, and they are, they're solid people. So like, it's not just about the dog, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's part of how we probably don't connect with them as closely if it wasn't about the dog too, right? I mean, that's part of what this is about. And then our other friends from Premier Payroll Solutions, my buddy Mike D'Onofrio will be a sponsor at the lunch as well. Incredible company. I mean, they talk about where every client matters, where every client is important. I grew up in the payroll business, and sometimes the larger payroll companies, let me just say it, they forget about the smaller businesses, the Main Street businesses, and these guys are all about that with a particular niche in restaurant and hospitality. So that's Premier Payroll NY.com. We'll put that on Facebook with Conquer as well.
And Mike is such a great guy. He's just one of those super down to earth, always helpful, and you know, really provides a very important service, because unfortunately, a lot of people botch their own payroll and payroll taxes, and nobody wants a letter from the IRS.
No.
No doubt. No doubt. And certainly a niche. Like I say, they focus on the restaurant space. We do a lot of business. Our firm Vanguard Benefits and Premier collaborate often. So that's always good. We're running out of time if we haven't done that already. So, so JP, we're always going to want you to come back.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Anything you want to leave us with before we go?
Well, one way to keep track of things, humanesociety.org, you can sign up for Kitty Block's blog, A Humane World. And that comes out, I think it's every weekday, most days of the week, always with some sort of exciting update. Just because we're talking how hard it is to keep up with everything. And don't want to fill everyone's inbox with more emails. I've been unsubscribing from a few myself, but that's one that I would stay subscribed to, even if I didn't work at HSUS.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to do the addition by subtraction thing, although
Yes.
I know I'm getting emails I never sign up for, though, and that is what makes me nuts. But anyway.
Well, if you get on one political fundraising list, you're going to end up on 400 political fundraising lists. That I can promise you.
Maybe that's.
I mean, listen, you know, I spend sometimes on Sunday evening going through my emails to try and get rid of the ones that, because I must get 600 or 700 emails a day just into my business email address. And it's like, how do you manage some of this stuff? You gotta, like, I scan to take out the things that are client related and important, but so many solicitations and nonsense, you know?
Oh, and speaking really quick of solicitations, if you want to sign up for our email list.
This is a good list, though. This isn't like the spammer that's hitting you.
We're definitely not spammers. In fact, I have to get more back into that routine of sending out these emails. But anyway, you'll get one about once a month. Go to www.pal-show.com and you can sign up for our awesome newsletter.
Yeah, so we could replace some of that other stuff you're going to cancel. Right. Go unsubscribe to something else and make room for our emails, I guess, right?
I get the emails from like the place where I have my exchange traded funds and like telling me, oh, we changed this or that. And it's like, it's a size 8 print, 300 pages. Okay. I'm not gonna read it.
Get the prospectuses that are like,
that's stuff.
Yeah, they just required this. They're required to send that to you and you're required to delete it. That's how that's how that's supposed to work. Look, I tried to play some music at the beginning of the show. I'm going to try to play music at the end of the show. But before I do that, I say thank you, JP. What a way to kick off the new year. We're here to learn, educate, and advocate. Your friends, the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. This has been Valerie's vision, and we're living it together. And I leave you with this, and then I'm going to try to play some music. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Thank you, Gandhi. Yay, Gandhi.
Yay, Gandhi. Yay. Thank you, JP.
Thank you.
All right. Well, make it a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Do you want to sing? Are you going to sing?
I don't know how to sing. There's no lyrics to our song. Thank you for
sweetheart.
Thank you very much to come in and being my pal, hanging with me and Val. Take care, everybody.
Not quite Lana Del Rey, but still very good.
Well, thank you for at least I'm in a conversation with Lana Del Rey. I mean, I think I'm more. Again, JP, as the show is still going on after it ended, I will tell you this. So I am going to take singing lessons in 2020.
All right, cool.
You know, I've always fancied myself a crooner. You know, who I was so busy telling myself I couldn't do certain things, and in 23 we're changing that. So don't be
guitar lessons.
Are you? So we can write a new song, and then we don't have to worry. You can just play us out.
Well, you're maybe, but I have to cut my nails first, and then.
All right. Well, I don't have to cut my nails to sing. It wouldn't affect.
Are you gonna? What do you got? Drums? What do you want? We have some openings in this band that we're forming.
I had a bass guitar when I was a teenager. I don't know that I'm the guy you want.
I want you. I do. You can have it.
Go holding tryouts. JP, there'll be tryouts.
That's
So don't
right.
worry
That's
about
a
it.
better way to go. Trust me.
Exactly. So I hope one of us makes it. I hope Valerie actually makes the band.
Yeah.
Make it a great night, everybody. Do your advocacy. Get out there and help be part of the change. Make it a great night, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Okay. So-
All right. Stop live stream. Stop recording.